What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. You know, it's been a busy day, kind of tired. Let me answer this. Hang on one second. Oh, okay, probably. No, I'm just kidding, guys. It's the Motorola Defy with T-Mobile. It's T-Mobile's newest Android, one of their newest Android devices. It's water resistant, it's dust resistant, and it's a pretty cool mid-range phone. Turn that off. Pretty cool mid-range phone with Android 2.1 and a couple of other goodies. It was announced a couple of months ago on Oprah Winfrey's show, and it is out now on T-Mobile.com. Special thanks to our friends at Motorola for hooking us up with a review unit to do all kinds of crazy stuff like put it in the water, all that fun stuff. And special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with not one, but two water-resistant Motorola Defys for use on One Pub Bandit giveaway. You know, walk out working. You go to Best Buy Mobile, you set up your email, or you need it set up rather, they'll take care of you. They'll set up your email, they'll get your internet taken care of. They'll make sure that when you walk out the door, your mom walks out the door, grandma, whoever, they're taken care of and they're walking out working with their new device. But enough of that, let's get into the fun review. Water-resistant Android phone, Motorola Defy, starts right now. Okay, here it is, the water-resistant, dust-resistant Motorola Defy with T-Mobile. It's available now for $99.99 on an Even More plan, which is their 2-year contract plan, and $379.99 is a device in the Even More Plus plan, you know, which is their contract-free plan. So a little more expensive, but still a decent price for a mid-range Android phone. So running an 800 megahertz processor with Android 2.1, and it has a 3.7-inch display. It's a standard LCD, but pretty colorful, pretty decent LCD display. You know, I think the combination of Android 2.1 and the revised version of MOTOBLUR, which is what this is running, makes it a little bit faster. I mean, the combination of that, the processor, and Android 2.1, because if you remember back to the Motorola Devour days and some of the early Motorola devices with Blur, they were laggy, they were a little bit slow, and I think there was a perception that Blur was just going to be bad forever. Not the case anymore. It's still not my favorite, but definitely decent and much improved, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. In terms of design, like I said, 5-megapixel camera on the back, and then on the side you'll see it's this nice two-toned white and black color with the screws, so it's got an industrial look to it, and then little flaps covering the ports to make them water resistant. But you'll notice micro USB charging port on the left, volume rocker on the right, screw on the bottom, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the top, also covered by a port, and then a power button on the top as well, and then of course a flash with the camera. So it has a micro SD card slot as well. So you know, well-equipped, decent mid-range device, and like I said, it's running Android 2.1. So let's take a look at the MOTOBLUR customizations. What's changed? What's similar in this device? So out of the box, you get some T-Mobile applications like App Pack, Blockbuster comes pre-installed, T-Mobile's Family Room program, File Manager, which is always a nice touch, IM, which, you know, in today's day, with, you know, Android not providing, or Android, one of their historic flaws was lack of an IM application that's installed on this device. Motorola's Media Share program, T-Mobile's My Account, Telenav GPS, Wi-Fi calling, and I just have to point this out. You know, one thing I really like about the Defy is it comes with a Task Manager application out of the box. So like the Galaxy S devices, it's here, it's stock, and when you open up the box, you automatically have that installed. So there's no more of downloading Advanced Task Killer from the Android market. Well, I guess you can if you want to, but it doesn't really make a difference. This shows how much CPU the individual application's taking, how much RAM it's taking. You can cancel one, or you can cancel all. So that's a nice touch. It's nice to see that out of the box. Now let's take a look at the widgets, and if you're familiar with MOTOBLUR in any sense, the new MOTOBLUR, so Droid 2, Droid X, even in the condensed form, the widgets are very similar, if not the same. So you're going to notice these widgets are very similar. Everything you're seeing on the screen, all very similar and unique to MOTOBLUR. So you can see, you know, the analog clock, battery life switch is one I downloaded. These are stock Android widgets, but when you go into the Motorola widgets, you'll see the typical ones. Airplane toggle mode, Bluetooth toggle, calendar, date and time, messages, social networking, a couple of different options. Now some of my favorites, I enjoy the weather widget that Motorola offers. You know, it's a personal preference thing. Some people will prefer Senses widgets. Some will prefer TouchWiz, which is what the Galaxy S line runs. Some will prefer MOTOBLUR. I happen to be a fan of the MOTOBLUR widgets. I think they're clean, they're nice and round, they're nice and square. They're kind of edgy looking and pretty neat. So you can see the weather based on AccuWeather, the date widget, and then the messaging widget, which I'll show you is another cool touch. I'll do that. And we'll make it for text messaging so you can see. Now, one thing I like, and I've shown this off before in the some of the Droid X videos and the Droid 2 videos, I like the fact that Motorola gives you the option to customize the widget even when it's on the home screen. So take a look at the messages. When I click on it, it gives me the option to expand it out. So I can make it look like that. I can bring it back down and make it look like that. I can spread it out. I can't spread it out that far, but I can spread it out to that point. So it's a nice customization option, and it goes past like, hey, here's your widget, plop, on the home screen. You know, so it's a nice touch. You can customize the way it looks. You can customize the size to make the device even more like you. So, for example, and you can do that across the board with most of the MOTOBLUR widgets. See, make it bigger, make it smaller, click out of it. So that's a really, really nice touch. I'm really impressed with that. And you know, as of right now, it's the only carrier or manufacturer installed overlay that supports that. So all the rest are pretty, you know, blocky, pre-selected sizes. Then once again on the home screen, you can't change. Nice touch on Motorola's part. Okay, let's take a look at the phone app. And you know, if you've worked with any MOTOBLUR equipped device, regardless of the level of MOTOBLUR it has, so the Droid X, the Droid 2, any of those devices, you're familiar with the dialer and the phone app on the Motorola Defy. Even though it's a full blur experience, it's very similar. So you notice buttons are similar. At the bottom, you'll see voicemail, the send key, and voice commands, along with the typical tabs at the top, dialer, recent, contacts, and favorites. By recent, you can, of course, group your calls by missed calls, all calls, received calls, or outgoing calls. And you can see on your favorites, you can select your friends, your family, whoever you dial the most, and, of course, speed dial is available as well. Now, while we look at that, let's have a look at the contacts as well. And you can see, you know, I have a couple in here. And I've set up the Old Man McTweety account just to give you an idea. Here's your contacts from A to Z. You could scroll over, see the history, so who you've called, what you've done, and you can scroll over this way to see their status. And so if you're, you know, any social networking plugins, anything like that, you can see that from there. But let's look at Old Man McTweety just as an example. You can see the number I put in. You can see the call and text buttons beside it, potential picture if I had a picture ID, and a couple of options when it comes to adding information. So you can put in the name, the family name, first name, last name, your phone, emails, IM, addresses, organizations, and then you can add additional info if you want to, like birthdays, anniversaries, website, and a couple of notes. Now, if you don't like this person, you put them in as that foolish guy that calls me every third Thursday of the month and tries to sell me ice cream over the phone. You can put his number in and send it straight to voicemail so you don't have to deal with him on every third Thursday, because everybody's busy on the third Thursday of the month. Say that 3 times fast. So that's that. You can do that. That's a nice touch. And then you can hide it in the contacts list if you so desire. Now, you know, while we're looking at it, it made me think of it. Let's jump into text messaging. And I want to show you, it comes with the typical MOTOBLUR keypad. And along with, I may have to, there we go, input method, swipe, along with swipe as well. So swipe's your thing. It's pre-installed, and you can use it. Hello, how are you? Hello, Gore, are you? But I'm not that great with swipe. But you can use that if you're interested in it. Or you can go to the input method and use the multi-touch keyboard, which is the standard Motorola keyboard that comes on the Droid 2, the Droid X, and the rest of the recent MOTOBLUR-equipped devices. So it's a nice keyboard. Actually, this keyboard is my favorite Android keyboard out there right now. Love the multi-touch. Love the way the keys are laid out. You know, it's a little harder to use on a 3.7-inch display. But, you know, not as bad. If you're used to the Droid 2, you should get used to it pretty quickly. But, you know, on that Droid X, fantastic keyboard. Love it. And very easy to use. So, you know, interesting there. And we can take a look at the calendar app. Again, very similar. Not a lot of changes there, but you'll see these little, you know, moto quirks here and there. And you can view it by week, month, event, or agenda as well. So I won't spend too much time on that. Now, you know, a lot of people are interested in the internet, of course, so let's have a look at the browser and see what it looks like. Very typical WebKit Android browser, but let's go to my favorite page. It actually is my favorite page. I didn't just say that because the boss might be watching the video. It is my favorite. We'll go to Phone Dog's page just to get an idea of how quickly it pinch to zoom is and the overall internet experience. And we'll wait for it to load. So you can see, pretty quick there. It's 3G device. It's not an HSPA Plus capable device, so it still is running on T-Mobile's standard 3G speeds. And then, you know, pinch to zoom seems to be, or zoom, going up and down seems reasonably quick. Pinch to zoom, little bit laggy, but the page hasn't loaded yet, so kind of jumping the gun. Let's wait until it loads to get a better idea on that. Okay, loaded now, and you can see, you know, a little bit of lag there, but, you know, for somebody that's casually browsing the web, using it every now and again, mom wants to check a recipe, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But for those that are used to, you know, a buttery, smooth, pinch to zoom, up and down, open and close kind of thing, it may frustrate you. You can see, you know, definitely a lag there. Now you can double tap to bring in a particular part, like you can on all the Android devices. And then, of course, you can go down here and you can add it to, you can look at your bookmarks, you can add a new window, you can see your windows, you can refresh and do a couple other things. So let's have a look at the windows that are open. You can see Phone Dog's there. We can open a new window. So that's a nice touch. And then we can go to ESPN.com. You get the idea. Very similar Android web browser. That pinch to zoom, little laggy, but for the target demographic of this device as a mid-range Android device, a majority of the customers that are targeted to buy this device most likely won't mind. Should I go with it? What do you think? What do you think, guys? I don't know.